All right, over to Steve Politi, Brian Fonseca here at Jersey Mike's Arena. 91-64 victory for the Scarlet Knights of Columbia. As well, a good of a game they played all season, maybe. I mean, it was an impressive effort defensively. And then, I mean, what can you say when you've got not only a triple-double performance, first one in 42 years by Dylan Harper, but 26 assists and 4 turnovers.
Yeah, Rutgers carved up the zone, absolutely. Jermichael Davis had 7 assists, right? Like Dylan Harper obviously was the maestro. This was a perfect game for him. And he didn't even go to the rim, obviously, against the zone. He's knocking down 4 threes. He's dishing assists all over the place, grabbing defensive rebounds. Just about the best game I've seen from Rutgers players since I've been on the beat, maybe, right? I mean, obviously, opponent, not the best, but not a terrible team, right? This is not the Columbia of old age.
11-1, right? They're good record. They beat Villanova, so certainly you know that they can play at that level. Yeah, and it's what you wanted to see from this team to give you some confidence about what's coming next. Of course, the Big Ten meat grinder, and I would argue, I think you would agree with me, the 4 most important games of the season here in rapid fashion to get through early January at 3-1.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this is what you wanted to see in the sense that you get really disappointing stretch from Kennesaw to Princeton. You lose that really tough game there. They have a week off. And even before that, when they started 4-0, none of the wins were really convincing. This was the first convincing win when they really took it over down the stretch. If you win at Indiana, I think that really changes kind of the complexion and the feeling and kind of the mood around the team, the program, and the outlook. If you lose to Indiana, it's not the end of the world. You probably have to win 2 of the next 3 games at home against, I believe it's Wisconsin, UCLA, Purdue.
Yep. Yeah, a tough stretch, no doubt. But let's just talk about how good Dylan Harper was. I can't say enough. Roy Hinson. I mean, you're talking about people in programs, the programs that they're going to be associated with now for the rest of his life, if this is his only year here. It's funny because the first half, you're like, oh, he's having a quiet day, right? He only had like 1 for 4 or something. But he just picked up the game in so many other ways, distributing the ball, handling the ball defensively. And that's not going to be in the triple-double. Forced a 5-second violation, which is the first one of those I've seen since Roy Hinson played in college basketball. Just overall, it was just an impressive day.
Yeah, just an excellent game, excellent performer. And again, I can't emphasize, without his superpower of getting to the rim and finishing, he was able to be so productive. And this was another example. Dylan Harper was excellent all game. Ace Bailey was outstanding in the first half. It's like he heard, and I know for a fact he did hear what Kevin Durant said about him when I asked him over the weekend, and he wanted to emulate Kevin Durant, getting to the middle of the zone, knocking down mid-range jumpers at will, just unstoppable for Columbia. And again, this is another show of Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper are going to have to carry this team. They had 40 points out of the 91. And I think I asked Steve Peichel this. I think this is going to be the opposite of a Steve Peichel team where they're going to have to lean heavily on their offense and hope their defense plays just well enough. This was their best defensive performance by far. Obviously, the level gets up in the Big Ten play.
Sporting Cash, we talked about Jermichael, obviously. Hey, we had a 3-pointer at the end, buzzer by a walk-on. Very exciting. I was Googling his name. Of course, I forgot what it is now.
Peter Noble. Former teammate of Kevin Peichel, younger son of Steve Peichel.
A nice moment up front. They out-rebounded Columbia. Again, significant size advantage, took advantage of it. That helps in Dylan Harper's rebounding, but Ace also rebounding. There's not really much you can nitpick here. Now you just have to hope it translates when the competition takes a major step up.
Yeah, listen, Columbia didn't get an offensive rebound until the 16-minute mark of the second half. Wow. That is very impressive for Rutgers, no matter who they're playing, because we watched Merrimack, Monmouth, St. Peter's come in here and dominate the glass. That is a good sign. And listen, the one thing I will say about this, they shot 34 three-pointers today. That's encouraging. The most of the season, 3 of them were at the end by walk-ons, but even then that's 31. PJ Hayes and Zach Martini, I believe, were combined 1 of 7 on 3. I don't care about that. They should have shot 10. The fact they're shooting threes, the fact they're on the floor is a very encouraging sign because eventually these guys are shooting 44% combined on threes. Eventually they're going to fall. I would say that, look, this doesn't change my outlook entirely on the season, but I certainly feel much more encouraged now than I did entering the game.
I will say this. I do think that it's the right opponent to begin this with. Like, if you're going to go on the road, you're going to play a team that's perhaps not the best coached team in the Big Ten, a place you've won a lot in the past where you've got confidence. I think this is that game to me is going to tell you a lot. Can you win and beat Indiana on the road? That could change the trajectory pretty well if you do that.
Yeah, and listen, Indiana's kind of in turmoil. Their starting center, who's making millions of dollars in NIL, gets caught allegedly at a bar the night before a game, doesn't play. Mike Woodson doesn't explain why, but it's pretty self-evident.
He'll play.
I mean, he'll play against Rutgers, but my point being that just the whole program is in a bit of disarray. Yeah. Fan expectations are over the moon, right? And they're not living up to them. So I think this is a chance for Rutgers to really go in there and kind of do what they've done a lot to Indiana, kind of put their thumb on the wound and push it a little deeper. And for Rutgers, it would be a really important win to gain some confidence again that stretch. So I think it's 9 of their next 12 games, or 9 of their next 11 games are quad one. That's a run that could change your season. And if you start that off with a win against Indiana, you feel really good going into those really difficult games.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Signing off from J Mike's Arena. It's not your arena yet, J. Michael. Jersey Mike's Arena. That's a sponsorship deal that should have happened. I'm going to call that in. Let's get some Jersey Mike's from J. Mike's. Signing off. Thanks for watching. If you got that far.